As someone that likes to add guitar to virtually all of my lo-fi beats, I know how frustrating it can be when you can't afford expensive, plugins, or definitely not the expensive hardware. So I figured this week I'd spend a little bit of time to show you exactly how you can use stock FL Studio VSTs to get the exact guitar tone I was just playing in the beginning of this video. So we're gonna go through every single piece of it so you guys know exactly how it works, but I am gonna leave a link to download this exact preset so you don't necessarily have to do all the work yourself. So let's hop in FL and check it out. So this is the super simple instrumental. I just laid that improv down over, but let's show you exactly how you can use this preset and how I made it. So once you've downloaded the mixer preset and you put it in the right folder, you can go to any empty track, right click, File, Open Mixer Track State, and navigate to the LD stock plugin guitar chain. So the first thing in the chain is going to be this Fruity dB meter. I've got this to make sure that your gain staging is set up for success. So essentially what you're going to want is to, once you get your guitar plugged in and your volume turned up, you're ideally wanting this to hit somewhere between -18 and -12 dB before any effects are going in, right? That's gonna apply the right amount of distortion and give you literally the sound that I'm going for with this. If you're up a little bit too high, you're gonna notice there's a lot more distortion, and down really low, you're gonna notice there's a little bit less character than you might have heard in my playing. You can definitely play with your input volumes to sort of dial in the tone you're looking for, but it was sort of purpose built to be in that -18 to -12 range. So let's listen to the audio, only the dB meter to get a sense of where it's hitting right now. And yeah, if you hover your cursor over that line that kind of hangs out, you'll see up in the top left of the window, we're up at -15.2 dB. So on those transients, that's really what you want to be paying attention to. The quieter ones are at that -18, we're poking up to the -14, -12 as we play. But what the real thing doing the work in this plugin is this patcher instance that I put together this afternoon. So it looks maybe more complicated than it is if you've never seen patcher before. This is a super awesome plugin to save space. One of the only downsides of FL Studio is that you only have 10 slots in your effects rack. With patcher, you can do parallel processing and stack layers and layers and layers of VSTs without using up a bunch of slots. So I specifically built this so that you can load one single mixer track state, and then you can also add some plugins after the fact and leave you some room in that mixer rack. All this is essentially you follow the wires to follow where the audio is going. So you'll see here it goes from FL Studio, our dry signal coming out of the dB meter, goes into this plugin, and then we split it. So this would be as if we were routing it to two different mixer tracks that had these effects on them, and then they come back together to reverb that goes back out to the master. Getting into the actual plugins so that if you did want to do anything to change the sound yourself, we've got the FL Studio stock amp emulator. Generally, this is a super harsh, really distortion biased, very high-end focused amp emulator. I wouldn't recommend using it by itself, but if it's your only option, if all you have is stock plugins, I think we can make it work with a little bit of magic here. So I've got an EQ, a tube drive, and a compressor. The compressor is actually pretty aggressive, the threshold super low, with a not super fast attack time and a pretty strong ratio here. We've got just a little bit of gain, applying mostly to the highs in the tube drive. And then I sort of played around with the EQ to bring out some of the mids and some of the warm tones without having too much high action going on. One other thing you could play with is this cabinet model. I did check quite a few of them. I ended up liking Model A the best. I feel like it just kind of had that warm but not super overdriven tone that I tend to like in my own lo-fi. So yeah, we start things off with the hardcore VST, and we head right into Fruity Blood Overdrive. This is essentially just applying gain, maybe the tiniest bit of distortion on top of what the hardcore is already doing, but it's bringing the volume up a little bit out of there. And then we've got the Fruity Soft Clipper applying a little bit of saturation to the sound. So this is gonna give it a little bit more richness, a little bit more body, hopefully a little bit less of the high-end buzz. And then we split the signal into two effects chains. We'll go through the more dry one first. I've got a Fruity compressor with the vintage type, -15 dB threshold for the compression to apply, and then no makeup gain, applying an 8:1, sorry, on that -15 dB. So this is really kind of squishing the dry signal and giving us like just a nice, pretty steady tone, no matter how hard you're strumming, or even like some of the quiet stuff will be pulled up through this dry chain. And then on the Fruity Parametric EQ, I just boosted the mids a bit, just to kind of bring it out. I felt like out of the hardcore, it was a little bit thin. If you're ending up with, maybe you got a guitar or certain pickups, or you're in a certain pickup position where you've got a ton of mids, feel free to duck this down, maybe bring some highs up. This is a good place to really shape the character that's the most forward that you're hearing out of this mixer track. And then that's going into a convolution reverb. Just on the default setting, this essentially is putting it into a space and making a nice long tail and just kind of giving it that nice reverb feeling you like. But then at that other split point, I've handled all of the delay here so that it's not stepping on the dry signal. And sort of the most important thing I did there was completely cut the dries out, so that essentially the dry signal that's got that extra compression will play, and then the delay will hit on this nice ping pong that I've got. I don't have the wet up all the way because you can't adjust like a mixer slider in this case, but I turned that down to 41%. This would be the knob that you want to turn if you want more delay or less delay, go with that. If you did want the delay to last longer, you can crank this level up higher, or if you feel like it's ringing out too long, you can go lower. Another thing you could do is swap this for a third-party plugin, Baby Come Back by Baby Audio. It's also free, and that one has a nice ducker feature. I've talked about it a few times on the channel, but that'll help if you got a more crowded melody to stop the delay from stepping on your main guitar melody. I think that's most of the interesting stuff. I played a little bit with the diffusion, added a tiny bit of distortion to the delay itself, so it took on a distinct character. Sent that into a Fruity Stereo enhancer, just kind of widened that out about 34% because I really wanted the middle to only be the dry guitar signal. I think that helps the ping pong sort of sit out in the distance. And then in an EQ, I did a lot to cut the lows and decided to make the delay a little bit higher so it sort of sparkled away in the back. And I brought that back together with the Fruity Convolver just to sort of glue it all together with the same reverb. From there, we get back into the mixer channel, and I didn't do anything with these two plugins, but I figured these would probably be the most likely things you would need following this chain. Figuring probably good to use this parametric EQ to maybe do some automation to change up between different parts. Maybe you want to cut some of the lows out and make it a little bit more tinny, or maybe you want to EQ the highs in on an entrance, totally up to you. Or maybe you got some harsh resonances you want to pull out. Just good to have it preloaded, I figure. And then for the limiter, I'm thinking this will probably be good to sort of glue things together, but that's all going to depend on your playing and the line that you're going in. So I left this completely alone so that you guys can have it and already be ready to go with some extra compression and EQ. So because I don't have a website or anything set up yet, I'm just going to leave a link to this in our brand new Discord server. All the way on the left side, you scroll down to the YouTube gang, there'll be a Stuff from Videos channel. And you know, if you're seeing this in a few weeks and I've posted a few videos since then, you might have to scroll up and find it, but I promise it will be there. It's not going anywhere. You can head in there and grab it. I won't be mad if you just pop in there and grab the preset and get out, but I do hope you think about hanging out. We've got a good number of people in there, already kind of getting to know each other. We've got a couple fun things planned coming up that I'm really excited to announce, and I'm hoping the server can be a good way for you and I to connect and for you to connect with each other and just sort of turn this into more of like a community built around this shared interest that we have. So I do hope this is a useful tool for you guys. Definitely let me know if you end up using it in your own tracks. I'd love to hear them. And let me know if you have feedback for the preset, or if you'd like to see me make a few more of these, maybe covering some kind of different tones, something a little bit more distorted, maybe something a little bit more spacious. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I'd be happy to make a few more if there were any interest. So yeah, I think that's all I got. So see you guys next week. Peace.